Hey there, everybody. Welcome back to another episode of the Common Tongue Podcasts. Today, we are interviewing Andrew Bouley. He's the president of Aquatik Esports. He's a really cool guy to talk to, and we're kind of doing this backwards because the first episode, obviously he's the president of an esports company, so we're going to be talking about that later, but he knows a lot about cryptocurrency. So I wanted to record that one first and upload that one first because I just think it's a massively interesting topic. And I just really like this episode. I wanted to get it out. So we're releasing an episode of For Nostalgia's Sake first with Andrew. So hopefully you enjoy this one. Next week, we're going to be talking about his work with Aquatik Esports, about his company, about everything that goes into it. But hopefully you enjoy this episode. And without any further ado, there's not going to be an ending because you already know what's happening. Let's jump into the episode. Hey there, everybody. Welcome back to another mediocre tentative podcast here at the Common Tongue Podcast. I genuinely am, I'm kind of shaking, I'm not going to lie, for this subject, because this is just something that's so out there, and there's so many possibilities for where this conversation can go. But please, sir, if you would please introduce yourself. We're recording this backwards, but please tell us what we're talking about.
Absolutely. Well, I'm Andrew Bouley. Some people know me as Neptune online. And today we're going to be talking a little bit about a cryptocurrency, which is pretty darn exciting. Creating it, doing things with it, and whatever else might pop up along the way.
No, trust me, because I have opinions on this, and there's a lot of stuff happening right now just in digital mediums, and it's so interesting just to see where people are putting their money. And how, because this is what blows my mind. It's how you can fix a cost or like a value to something that is, okay. So we're just going to stop right there because then we're going to run into an existential crisis about the meaning of money and if that really has any real value. But
I think the meaning of value does get the value of money does get very interesting here when talking about cryptocurrency, especially with all the different forms of currencies that exist right now.
Yeah.
There's standard, you have like the non-fungible tokens, which are all the rage right now with NFTs. And then of course you have stablecoin.
And see, that's one thing that I want to bring up in this is NFTs, because that is a whole market that just blows my entire mind. So, okay. So what is your experience with cryptocurrency?
Yeah. So it's kind of it's a traveled course. So it's comically enough, back in the day, I actually got a master's in cybersecurity, right? Because I thought,
from where?
It was from the University of Maryland.
Oh, okay, cool.
And so I thought, this is what I wanted to do with my life. I was going to get into IT consulting, and I actually opened up my own little small cybersecurity firm. And I was like, this is what I'm going to do. It's going to be great. And then I decided that, food and beverage was a better choice, and it led me down this road into software. And I am today leading an esports organization and a software company as well. So you know what? It happens. And
yeah, just no big deal. It just happens. Just whatever happens along the way.
And the interesting part about that, though, is they do say that if you want to get into cryptocurrency, one of the best places to start is cybersecurity, because it's all blockchains and whatnot. It's all the whole concept of security.
Okay, hold on, wait. So before we go any further, this is something I want you to explain to me and to everybody else, because I just don't understand the concept. What is a blockchain?
Yeah, so it's kind of, so you can Google this, right, in a million different ways, and you see all these different concepts that pop up on what a blockchain is.
Right, yeah.
And no one really can understand it. So I always like to kind of talk about it in the simplest forms possible to try to get people to understand. So essentially what's happening, right, is you have this this pathway. And when you're creating a currency or something like that, you're essentially selecting the path that you want it to follow. And it is taking a object or a currency and it's breaking it up across multiple different access points, right? And so you think about if you have cryptocurrency, and this is that whole concept also of the decentralized instead of being centralized bank, right? And so what it's doing is it's putting little pieces of your currency over a vast network. And so there's a whole bunch of computers that buy into this. There's a whole bunch of access points that buy into this. And there are little tiny bits of your currency that exists in all of these various access points. And you get assigned I'm trying to think of these
kind of like a barcode.
Yeah, you get assigned like a code, and that code feeds into this larger network. And as long as your code accesses all these other like networks, it tells all these different access points to give you a piece of your currency back, which then feeds to your total value. And so it's just a really easy way to secure things by spreading it over a large network in small pieces and assigning a code that then unlocks that entire network. So you can't hack just one particular spot, right? You'd have to hack every single one of these different access points in order to unlock the total value. But the code is always changing, right? And so it's always recycling. So it's really hard to then hack it because you have to rehack it over and over again to get the total value.
Okay, no, I think this is making sense because so basically, like if I'm understanding this correctly, blockchain is basically all these access points are the blocks, right? But then it's all connected by the network, and that introduces a chain, right?
Correct.
And so basically what you're doing is you're accessing your own currency, but you're getting it in bits and pieces rather than as a whole.
Yes. Yeah. So, I mean, Bitcoin and all those kind of words are all starting to make sense now, right?
I mean, yeah, kind of. Yeah.
So the record is held, right, across a ton of different devices that are all linked together by a peer-to-peer network, which is that chain.
And so technically, is the peer-to-peer network technically just the internet as a whole, or is it specific networks within the internet?
Yeah, it's specific networks based on the various different blockchains that are created.
Oh, that's so interesting.
And so they grow, right? They get bigger. And so as more records and as more people get involved, the blockchain can actually get larger, right? And so it grows.
Okay. Now, this is something that's interesting because if everybody would remember, I did an episode with my buddy Nick, and we talked about how the internet is kind of pseudo-organic, right? And I don't know if you'd agree with this, but he brought up the point that the internet is kind of like self-healing, right?
I can see that.
Where if something is interrupted, it can find a way to reroute, but then also repair the damage that was done in the routing, right? In between two node points.
Yeah. And it's also kind of like it's almost like self-building. I mean, you think about like the blockchain as well.
Right, yeah.
New block contains a piece of the previous block.
See, okay, now this is where it gets interesting because now you've opened up a can of worms that is going to be absolutely cool to talk about. This is what's so cool about this. But so if I'm understanding this correctly, so every time a new block is added, it takes a bit of it. So it's kind of just like cellular division, right? You have bits and pieces of the previous parts that came before it, right? Now, here's the question. Is it auto-generating? Like, does it generate organic, or not like organically, but does it generate on its own, or do other people have to create the blocks?
Yeah, I mean, so there's oddly some debate on that. And so realistically...
Oh, good. Yes. I want the debate. This is so cool.
And a lot of the current blockchains, they are created, by people using the previous block. And so there's a timestamp that's created as well that says, hey, look, this actually was created at this time and this date. And it's using a hash from that previous block to create that secure transaction, which is why it gets tricky, right? Because you can't go and hack just one block because there's this whole chain that has to exist in order to get to that end piece. You'd have to hack all of these blocks, which again is getting very tricky and almost impossible.
So now here's the other question, then we'll move on to how you got, or like where your role in Bitcoin came in, or not Bitcoin, just in cryptocurrency in general. So is whenever you mine cryptocurrency, is that you creating a new blockchain, or not necessarily like a blockchain, but is that just you creating a new node in the blockchain?
Yeah, you're adding to the block.
Okay, so so then exponential growth is the more people you're on it, the more nodes that you have, and the harder it is to hack it.
Yes.
That's wild. So basically what you're saying is that it's would you compare it kind of like to how VPN technology works? Or is it
Maybe.
different because you're not bouncing a signal?
Yeah, I don't know that it's really the same thing because I mean, you're not really. I mean, VPN is just giving you a private network to access from somewhere else, whereas
Okay, then yeah.
this is. I mean, it's two things, right? And so you're also. I mean, essentially, you think about like mining. Also, is almost like the protection, right? Because there's no real protection of cryptocurrency,
Yeah.
and so kind of what's happening there is your computer is verifying that all of this is happening, while your GPU or whatever you've set up to be the processor, when your
Mm-hmm.
mining is also verifying and keeping all the data in check. And the reward for doing this is being provided with some of the coin that's happening.
Okay. I think this is starting to make sense, and I think as we continue this conversation, I will be able to understand more about it.
That's fair enough.
So, you started your own cybersecurity, you got into it. So, what happened from that point?
So I kind of elected that was not the best route to go, um, and got more involved in food and beverage. And I stayed in food and beverage for a little while. And then I actually broke my ankle. Funny story, I split my Achilles tendon in half uh,
Oh,
playing the limbo. I did it playing the limbo. I went a little too low. And they say,
but
how low can you go? That's how low.
you did it so low that you snapped your Achilles. Great.
Yeah, I didn't think that was possible, but it's a thing. And while I was out of work, I decided that maybe food and beverage was not the job for me. And I knew I had a tech background. I mean, I'd worked for Apple in the past, and again, I'd had the experience in cybersecurity. So I said, yeah, let me find a software type job. And oddly enough, in Naples, Florida, there was a software company that also did food and beverage software. And I said, look, this would be perfect. And I applied for a job, I think, as a sales rep. And I got hired on in a strategy position.
Mm-hmm.
And 5 years down the road, here I am.
That's so okay. Now, if my math is correct, that was Horizon, right?
Correct. Yes.
Okay, cool. Uh, and then I
And I
think
still work for Horizon.
right, yeah, and I think I have a little bit of understanding with how the relationship between you, Aquatik, and Horizon is. But we don't have to technically go into that. But so, when did you start getting really interested in cryptocurrency?
Yeah, I mean, I was watching all the things that were happening with like stocks and what people were doing with it, and I was like, "This is cool." I mean, I
Hmm.
definitely missed the boat at like buying Bitcoin when it was super cheap and getting to be like a Bitcoin billionaire and all the
Right.
crazy things that were happening. But I thought it was interesting, right? That there was this form of money that was being created that didn't really have value and was just like out there, and people were literally just like creating money out of nothing. And so I was like, man, there's got to be more ways to make money off of this. And I was like, businesses are going to want to start doing this, right? Like if people are
Hmm.
doing it and they're getting rich, it's only a matter of time until businesses also want to jump on that train. And so my thought process is how can I get involved with a business, and how can I get businesses the ability to make money as well? And that's kind of where I got involved, is reaching out to businesses and offering to build them specialized currencies.
That's that's that. Okay, cool, great. Now we're here. Um, so are you allowed to tell me the names of the currencies that you created?
So a lot of it, they no longer have the same name that was created when I was working on them, just because they changed them and kind of
Oh, right,
used their
yeah.
own aspect. I mean, I can't probably give the like the token letters and all that kind of stuff that were assigned as we go through. I could tell you that I built them on the Ethereum chain, though, so they were Ethereum based.
Oh, that's super cool. Ethereum actually is doing surprisingly well lately. From everything that I've been, because my brothers, um, also I think I mentioned this in the beginning. I'll probably mention it now, but also in the beginning of the episode. We're not financial advisors. This is just cool.
Yes.
Like don't listen to us. We just it's just cool stuff, man. I'm super interested in this. But mostly because my brothers are super big into investing, right?
Yes.
My little brother, he was the one who started the chain, where he had dabbled before in it, he'd been playing around with it. But then he and my older brother got in on the big GME rocket.
Mm-hmm.
And from there, now my older brother is like widely diversifying his portfolio. He's into stocks. I think he recently bought some land or something. He's really, really setting himself up, and it's so cool to see. But we started talking about Ethereum, and it was so interesting because we were talking about, at the time, what was this, like 2 weeks ago? We were talking about the Bitcoin crash, and he was talking about how, oh man, Bitcoin is going down the drain, Ethereum's going to be on the rise. It's just so interesting to see the conversations, the topics that people bring up around cryptocurrency. What do you think is the most interesting conversation that you can have about cryptocurrency?
Yeah, it's a hard question.
I know, right? Because there's so many topics. There's so much that can be brought up.
Look, and I think, cryptocurrency right now, people just know it's like cool, and they're like, I need this, because people are getting rich using cryptocurrency. But it's like, it's almost like, what do you do with cryptocurrency, right?
Other than buy and sell it.
Yeah, you just buy it and sell. I mean, there's only people that have become day traders in cryptocurrency, and that's all they do is sit around and buy and sell cryptocurrency,
right? Yeah,
on a daily basis, because it's so volatile, right? Because it's moving all the time. And then you see various celebrities that are endorsing different types of cryptocurrency. Like, some are huge on Ethereum, some are big on Bitcoin, some are thinking that like NFTs are the new way to do it. But I think what a lot of people don't understand, right, is like there's every like token has a different like anatomy and build, right? I mean, for example, like Ethereum, there's even different like concepts inside of Ethereum. And so one of the tokens that I worked with was ERC20, right? Which is a type of token inside the Ethereum land, right? And so essentially what we're saying there is that ERC20 means that there's a set of rules, right? And so the ERC20 token is actually built off 3 optional rules and 6 mandatory rules.
Okay.
This is where it gets interesting, because I think people that really understand it and do their research to know what these different tokens are made up of will do better. And so, like, for example, the ERC20 tokens, the rules that are in place that are mandatory, you have to have a total supply. There has to be a balance of, there has to be a transfer and a transfer from, so where it's going, where it came from, an approve, and then an allowance, right? And so these are these 6 mandatory rules that have to exist for an ERC20 token to come into play, which is really important because it's showing the security of that token, where it came from. And as long as all these data points are intact, right, ERC20 works, which is pretty interesting. And then there's also the optional rules, which is there like a token name? Is there a symbol? And then is there a decimal? So how much can you break it down to? And so it's fascinating because every different token set has different rules in place to make them a token. And people right now, I think, are investing and they're making choices and they're looking at things. They're saying, oh, this is cool and popular, but they haven't looked like, is this actually a secure token? Are there rules in place to make sure that I'm being signed appropriately, to make sure it's being transferred appropriately? What type of a blockchain does it exist on? Yeah. And then they're losing all their money and they're like, oh no, what happened?
And see, even just because I looked up ERC20, ERC defines a common list of rules. Yep. And then it goes into maker, basic attention token, augur, Omise Go. Omise? I hope I'm saying that right. This is, oh my gosh. I didn't even know this world existed. So, okay, hold on. So now going back to the concept of a blockchain, right? So I started thinking about this analogy in my head, right? For the people who definitely aren't cryptocurrent, like the concept of cryptocurrency just blows my mind, right?
Cryptocurrent, I like that. Are you cryptocurrent?
Are you cryptocurrent? We're gonna start making that the one thing in crypto. Are you cryptocurrent? Do you know what's happening in the world of cryptocurrency?
I love that.
Cool. I mean, look, man, the lexicon in English is always changing on like a monthly basis. I hate it. So, Ethereum, if you want to break this down into real world applications, right? Would Ethereum basically be like the NASDAQ or like the stock exchange, where it's the whole market, right? It's the whole blockchain. But then everybody who takes bits and pieces out of it, they're building off of what has already existed within the network, so within the stock market, but it's also gaining its value from the main blockchain, but also adding to the security of the main blockchain.
Yeah, I'll take that. That's pretty solid.
Okay, cool. Great. So yeah, so basically Ethereum is like the big overarching blockchain, right? It is the main blockchain that everything is made out of, and that is what sets the security of the blockchain, the blockchain that you're trying to create. But then every blockchain that's added onto it, that's like snipped in there, grafted onto it, if you will, that adds not only to your security but also to the main security of the main blockchain.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, that's so cool.
You're a fast learner. Look at that. It's like you've done this before.
Oh, this is so cool. Okay, but now this is where we're going to take a dive into the philosophy of cryptocurrency, right?
You know, I was studying philosophy in school. That was almost my bachelor's degree.
I funnily enough, I was so close to taking a philosophy class in college, and it did not coincide. Like, it didn't fit into my schedule, so I had to take a literature class, and I took classical. I think it was like classical literature from, I think, like 1300s to 18 something. So we read all the way up to about Faust, I think. Or how far did I don't remember how far he went. But even in like the study of these classical literature pieces, the professor was like, nope, we're gonna study like the thoughts behind it, like what are the metaphors, what do they mean? I was like, no, dude, this is where it gets really crazy, because then you start having these deep conversations that sparks so much interest, especially
Yeah.
in myself. Which hopefully, if you're here, that's why you're listening to this podcast, because it's cool to talk about. So, where does cryptocurrency gain its value?
It gains value from the value that it's assigned, right? It's supply and demand. So it's what are people willing to pay for it, right? So I mean, when you create a cryptocurrency, you assign a total number of token that exists for that currency, right? So you create like a value, you can create how small that token can get, and then it comes into play on how much is someone willing to pay for it. And so I think to really discuss this, we have to say, like, are we talking about a traditional cryptocurrency or like a stable coin, right? So there's two very interesting topics here. So
well, let's do both.
Yeah. And so, I mean, stablecoin is still a cryptocurrency, right?
Mm-hmm.
But it's different. And so when building a cryptocurrency, like a traditional, like an Ethereum or something like that, right? You're creating a total number of coin, and you're saying how much of this coin exists, kind of like a stock, right? So back to your stock market kind of piece, right?
Yeah.
You're saying this is how much exists. It comes down to the people, right? Like, how much is someone willing to pay for that stock, right? How much is it going to trade for? Is there value behind the concept? Instead, traditional cryptocurrency is, right? What are people willing to pay for it? It's a supply and demand kind of concept. Now, stablecoin, I love. And we're actually at Aquatik building our own stablecoin that's going to be used across some of our platforms, minor spoilers, here in the near future. That's pretty exciting because stablecoin is backed by cash. So you assign
like liquid assets.
So you assign your stablecoin to a currency type, right? So let's say it's USD, and so it's a US dollar-based stablecoin.
Right.
If you have $1,000 in a bank account, there can be 1,000 stablecoin. If you have $1,000, you can't have 2,000 stablecoin because there isn't a backing value to that particular coin. And so stablecoin is actually backed by cold hard cash, and you pick the currency of which you wish to back it with.
So rather than it being, this is no.
Yes.
So this makes sense. So cryptocurrency is based on the value that people give it by investing in it, right? And that's what makes it so volatile. In terms of stablecoin, it's based on real world currency, and that the volatility of a stablecoin is based not necessarily on how much people invest in it, but rather what is backing it.
Exactly, because there's really, there's essentially nothing backing like a standard coin, right? Because it's just floating around in these values.
Other than the value that people are putting into it.
Exactly, right? With stable coin, there's always a value behind it, which is interesting because if you've been following the news recently, the U.S. government actually just approved stablecoin to be used for various government entities because, again, it is a very backed. There's cash backing it. But what's great about that, you get the security of cash with the security, or excuse me, you get like actually security is the same word here, but it's different meanings. You get the security as in like it's there of cash, but you get the security as in like protection of crypto. So there's the comfort of cash with the digital protection of crypto inside of stablecoin, and it's almost the best of both worlds. And I truly believe you're going to start seeing a lot of businesses and banks and everything like that introducing stablecoin. In fact, JP Morgan just announced their own coin not too long ago. It's like JP Coin or something like that.
That's so interesting. So now it's making sense to me. Now all these conversations that people are having on the news and on different websites, now it's starting to make sense to me.
But if you want to really break that sense that you've just made, you throw in NFTs.
No, yeah, and see, that is the other side of this conversation. Because, so
common sense to the wind. NFTs are amazing. We should talk a little bit about
them. Oh my gosh. Okay, so for everybody up to this point, let's do a quick recap. So
I love recaps.
Cryptocurrency is based off of the value that people invest into it. So, for example, back in the day, Bitcoin was worth what when it first came out? Like $1 or less than that?
Mm-hmm. It was like nothing. I can maybe look it up with the original.
Yeah, let's do that. Initial Bitcoin cost. What was the initial price of Bitcoin?
0.0009.
See, that's crazy. And now it's at what, 30? Oh, well, it's dropped significantly since then, apparently.
Now we're at $40,000.
Yeah, see, that's gross. That's disgusting. But so that value was assigned only because so many people bought into it, right? If I'm understanding this correctly?
Essentially.
Okay. So stablecoin...
It became like the coin of all seedy internet activities.
Yeah, basically. And then stablecoin is, while people put money into it, but it actually associates itself with real world money, right?
Yeah, I mean, you can like exchange money, like, so, for example, if we had our own stablecoin and you wanted to buy 10 of them, you gave us $10, we could create 10 more stablecoin and give it to you because you're $10 buys. It's now in the fund, and so those can exist out in the world.
So when you put money into a stablecoin, does that also increase so it also increases the amount there is, but does that then also increase the security of it?
Kind of. And you're not devaluing it because it's still based off currency, right? So unless the US dollar were to lose value, the stablecoin is not losing value.
That's something where it's just, I think stablecoin is the future, because when you think of like credits in like Star Wars or in Star Trek or in any universe, oh, I just blew my own mind. No, so in The Mandalorian, when people are like, oh, I have these credits, like, no, you need these kinds of credits. If you want to pay in these credits, you have to have this kind of value associated with it. Oh, snap.
Yes, and see, what you just said there is the fascinating part. So, like, right now, if you're in the US, you spend the US dollar, right? If you're in, Mexico, you use the peso or something like that. You're using various different, if you're using the yen, if you're overseas. What's great about it is if you're using a stable coin and you have a bank or a provider that's utilizing stablecoin instantly transfers from any part of the world to any other part of the world and can be withdrawn at the currency of the local location. So if you have,
you're literally telling me that it's like an auto money changer.
Yeah, if you put USD in the United States and then you went to Japan and you pulled out like the Japanese yen or something like that, when you withdrew it, it would be in Japanese yen.
It would be the equivalent, yeah.
And you're not paying any sort of like bank transfer fees or any of that kind of stuff. You're just utilizing that currency.
Oh my God.
It's really cool.
That is the coolest thing I've ever heard.
Mm.
That literally is, that you can't change my mind anymore. That is the future.
It's a universal currency.
Yeah. And not even just like a universal currency. It's a currency that is backed by every country's own currency. But then when you need to trade it, you can assign it to the value of another country and still get the same result.
Yeah, and it also essentially operates at the speed of light, which is also super handy.
Oh my gosh. So this is just a random question, which I think I'm going to answer it in my own head, but I'm still going to ask it anyway, just for the sake of having this conversation with you. So No, and now that I think about it, it's just a dumb question. I was basically going to ask is like, do you think that using a fiber optic network would help change the value of a cryptocurrency because you're being able to move more currency across the network?
I don't know that it would change the value. I mean, I know it would make it's quicker. I mean, cryptocurrency is all about speed as well and security. I don't know that it would. I mean, maybe.
Well, because I'm thinking about how much you're able to mine at a time, but I think you're limited on hardware in that case, aren't you? Like,
Yes, and there is some serious. I mean, there's quite the power problem with that.
right. And and people were complaining about, the silicon shortage right now, and apparently it's because everybody's buying them up for miners, for GPU miners. Yeah, GPU miners.
I mean, that's been a problem. Getting a graphics card right now is like the biggest challenge on the face of the planet.
I know, and it's mostly because of the silicon shortage that everybody's talking about. But I think I can't remember who it was, but I remember seeing something where I think they said a lot of people were blaming it on cryptocurrency miners.
Yeah, crypto's been blamed for everything for forever.
Oh my gosh. This is such an interesting I'm so glad that I'm able to have this conversation because now I'm understanding so much more about this. Hey everyone. I'd like to take a moment to thank today's amazing sponsor, Pimsluer. Now, I'm really excited about this one. As a linguist, I love learning languages and maintaining them. Pimsluer is the amazing way to go from a beginner to an intermediate speaker of a language in just 30 days. But you may be asking, why Pimsluer? And let me tell you, Pimsluer is a program uniquely focused on conversational skills. It's not a vocabulary, image, and word matching game app that's like so many other programs out there. It's all about practical conversational skills. When it comes to developing speaking skills, Pimsluer is the answer. And because it's conversation-based, you can learn while driving to work, while exercising, or cooking dinner. Turn your downtime into a powerful new skill, guys. And Pimsluer has over 50 languages to choose from. So what are you waiting for? Check out the link in the description of this episode, and don't just take my word for it. Try it absolutely free for 7 days with the offer in this link.
Well, I do think, and I know we're rolling through this one, but I do think we do need to quickly talk about NFTs.
Oh no, yeah, please, yes, let's do this.
Because it's important and it adds to this conversation because NFTs are a brilliant way. They're brilliant. Whoever came up with NFTs, I don't know exactly who it was, but brilliant person. The concept with the NFT, right? So it's a non-fungible token. I talked about non-fungible tokens not too long ago, and I don't want to get totally into what is an NFT and like how does it work and all that kind of stuff because
screw that. Let's do that. No, let's do that. No, let's do this. Let's break it down, but still be concise as possible.
Yeah. So like,
just that. Yeah. So like, it sounds like every conversation I've ever had with anybody trying to explain to them why Final Fantasy is so good. It's like, yeah, so like none of the games are the same, but they're all in this. It's so good. That's what I heard is me trying to explain that to somebody else who absolutely has no understanding of the topic.
So, that's fair. So the very first thing we need to do is think about like what is fungible, right?
Yeah.
Is the idea that something can be interchanged for an exact concept, right? So like money is fungible, right?
Yeah.
If you have a $10 bill, you can exchange that for two $5 bills and there's the same value because it's $10, right? So it's $10 or two fives, all 10, right? That's a fungible exchange. You know that always that $10 is worth $10. I could trade that for a 10. I could trade that for 10 ones. I could trade it for a whole bunch of quarters, right? Like what's the path there? It makes
right.
10.
Yeah.
Now non-fungible is where things is interesting, which is like a house, right? So like a house has different values based on what someone is willing to pay for it or what the market derives or how good of a salesman are you, right? And so just because I bought my house for $100,000 doesn't mean it's going to be worth $100,000 a year from now, right? It could be worth 200, it could be worth 50,000. So that's the concept of non-fungible. So it's saying that something exists and is not always interchangeable for the exact same thing. If I take a $10 bill now, 2 years from now, it's still going to be $10, right? Like I can exchange that for two fives. Now, the overall value with inflation and might have changed.
Right. Yeah.
$10. And so I think that's what people need to understand is that with a non-fungible token, it is something created that does not have a value. It's the value of the beholder. right? Is what someone's willing to pay for it, or the value of the creator, right? I mean, you got to think like a house. You assign a value to your home and you try to sell it to someone. It's their choice if they want to pay it at what you've claimed it to be. So with non-fungible token, you're essentially creating a digital object and assigning it like a cryptocurrency. So it's still protected on the blockchain. It still exists. And you are now saying, I'm willing to sell this digital token for this price, right? So I'm willing to sell it for 20 Ethereum. And a lot of times they're on the Ethereum network. It's real easy dandy. And you say, this is worth 20 Ethereum. I'm willing to sell it for this. Who's willing to buy it? And it goes out to the world and it's their choice if anyone wants to purchase it. What a lot of people don't understand about non-fungible tokens, though, is the owner of the NFT, the creator, assigns a commission to the tokens. They're putting their signature on it, right? They're saying this belongs to me. And they're assigning a, let's for argument's sake, let's say it's a 10% commission. Okay. Now, they sell you the token, you buy it for $1,000. Well, they're going to get that whole $1,000 because they sold it to you, but there's a 10% commission on there. Now let's say you now take that and you sell it to one of your friends, and your friend buys it from you for $1 million. You're able to really up the ante on that bad boy. Well, when you sell it for $1 million, I'm still getting 10% of that sale because I have a commission. And every time that cryptocurrency exchanges hands, the blockchain knows to route me back 10% of the sale. For the life of that NFT, I'm receiving money every time that it exchanges hands, regardless of what network it's on, regardless of what exists, because the commission's built on it.
That's wild.
So you see big popular creators like Gary V, who are building these. I think he just made a site called VFriends where he's selling all sorts of crazy little tokens and whatnot, and they're exchanging hands like wildfire. Well, every single time those are exchanging hands like wildfire, Gary V is getting a little thank you for creating that token originally. It's almost like a royalty if you think about like how a musician, whenever their song is played down the road, they're getting a little something for it. Now, 10% is very large and it wouldn't be that, but it could be, I guess, theoretically, if you wanted to assign it. But you're continuing to receive a little royalty every time that NFT exchanges hands.
That's probably one of the coolest things I've ever heard.
It's brilliant.
Absolutely wild.
And people are using them for stuff now, right? So like NFTs, for example, some of them are accessed. Like I think Gary Vee is giving you access to his convention if you own one of his NFTs, which gives you a reason to own it. It's not just the pretty picture, but it's having that. There's thoughts that a vehicle in the future might start with an NFT. So like, let's say, it's for again, we're just pulling this one out of a hat, but a Tesla, and you wanted to access your Tesla, well, you would need your NFT to get into that Tesla. And that value could be derived in anything. And if you sold it to somebody else, they'd now have access to the Tesla because they own the NFT. Right. There's thought process that video games could be put behind NFTs, right? So let's say you wanted to play the new Halo Infinite and you went to play it. You would have to have the Halo Infinite NFT to play it, which is what's interesting about that. At launch, it would be more expensive because everybody wants to play it. But 10 years down the road, when there's no more interest in Halo Infinite, you could buy a copy of one of those Infinite tokens at maybe $5 or $10 instead of $70 because there's no longer a exact derive for the need of them. But regardless of the sale, Microsoft is getting their cut because they're the original royalty holder on the token.
That's absolutely mind-blowing. See, that part I didn't know. I was like, why is this so entertaining? Why is this so massive right now? That makes a lot more sense into why people are trying to find a market for NFTs.
Yeah, everybody wants them because it's free money for like the life of your existence.
That's the coolest thing ever. Because I think, who was it? Jake Paul?
Yeah.
Wasn't Jake Paul like taking pictures of Pokemon cards and selling them as NFTs? Like that blows my mind. That right there makes no sense to me. Yeah, the fact that people could find value in that.
Yeah, it like NFTs have been like created to spark the collector in anybody. Like I have the biggest library, I have the coolest stuff. Look at all these things that I own from these people, and it's neat. I mean, I think the remember the old like Charlie bit my finger video? I think that just sold as an NFT for it was like $750,000 or something like that.
The video did?
Yeah. So it's taken down off YouTube. It's now an NFT.
No,
yeah,
that's
the original
not
video
true.
was taken down, now an NFT.
No way. I'm gonna check you on that because if that's truth, that is the wildest thing and the smartest thing I've ever heard. No. May 22nd, 2020 or 23rd, sorry, updated. Oh my god. NFT of soon to be deleted Charlie Bit My Finger YouTube videos sold for over $760,000. I'm in the wrong business. Like 100%. I am in the absolute wrong business.
I think the founder of Twitter, what was his name? Jack Dorsey or something like that. Is that his name?
Something like that. I don't
Yeah,
know.
Jack Dorsey. So he sold his very first tweet for, I think it was $2 million. Because why not?
Yeah, you know what? I would probably just buy the entire MySpace site as an NFT. Because that thing nobody's using. Is it okay? If you're listening to this and you're still actively using MySpace, please let me know. Because I would love to have you on the show to ask why you're still using MySpace.
And then sell it to us as an NFT.
Yeah. What? Oh my gosh! No, that would be the smartest thing. Is you sell. Oh crap! Who was the one friend on it that everybody had on MySpace? See, this is how long it's been since I've used it. What was the guy's name? It was like Bob. You do know what I'm talking about, right?
I mean, like the dude that it like forced you to have as a friend?
Tom.
Yeah.
Tom. That would be a genius thing for MySpace to do, is to sell the original Tom account if it was still around.
Somebody will buy it.
I guarantee you somebody will buy it. Like, not even joking. There's somebody out there who was a diehard fan of MySpace, and they would be willing to buy it. I almost guarantee you that 100%.
And, I've heard people be like, I mean, like, Andrew, is it really that big of a deal? Like, I mean, you bought an NFT of a video. I mean, it's not yours. Other people can still look at it. I'm like, I argue that. You walk into a museum,
comes into play.
But no, you walk into a museum, you can see art. You don't own that. Somebody else owns it, and it's their value. It's their currency, right? Like, they're the one getting the dollar from it. You can still look at that. Doesn't mean you own it. And so it's the same thing. Like, if a year down the road you still find the Charlie Bit My Finger video online, well, great. It doesn't mean you own it. It means you were able to consume it, just like you can consume fine art. But someone owns that and can sell it to somebody else who wants to add it to their collection in the future.
That's wild. And the thing is that, say that person, 50 years down the line decides to sell that video, right? Because now it's considered an antique NFT. There's value in everything. Appreciates everything that is a collectible appreciates over time.
It's an ANFT. Right? Yeah.
An ANFT. An ANTIF.
An ANTIF, yeah.
That's new. What we're gonna say. Yeah, man, we're just adding to the English lexicon. Like, no, we gotta coin these words, man. We're gonna coin the words ANTIF and cryptocurrent and sell them as NFTs.
You probably could.
You own there. I guarantee there's a linguist out there's like, I own the original word or whatever. It's
But you literally, I mean, it's almost that simple, right? So, I mean, if you wanted to be creating your own NFTs as we speak, you could. You can go online. You can download a wallet like MetaMask or something like that works for you. You can go to a NFT operating website like OpenSea or something like that. You go into OpenSea, you link MetaMask to it, which you can set up in a matter of maybe 5-10 minutes. And then if you have an image on your computer that you created as digital art, or a song, or even your podcasts that you're recording right now, you could upload them to OpenSea and start selling them within a matter of minutes. And boom, you're now an NFT seller.
You're selling the original content that you created that nobody else has access to. Everybody else can still consume it and enjoy it, but you would be the original owner of that company.
And to be fair, it's up to the owner, right? Like, if you sold it to somebody and they didn't want it on the internet anymore, they could hide it in their own collection, or they could share it with the world. Just like art, you can either lock it up in your bedroom, or you can put it in a museum for all the world to see.
Mm-hmm. And here's the thing, every time because this is the point, I'll finish this point with the whole Charlie's thing, right? Charlie Bit My Finger video. It sold for over $760,000, right? 50 years down the line, whoever the original owner of that is, they sell it for 1.2 million. That's $100,000 or like $120,000 in their pocket.
Yeah, depending on royalty was built in, but it's brilliant.
It's so wild. So here's one thing that I also want to talk to you about, because I want to know if you have any, I guess, not as opinions, but just I want to know what you think about this. So, what is a hard fork when it comes to cryptocurrency?
As far as
Just the term in general, because I have no idea. Because okay, this is where the context is coming from. There was something that I saw on the internet the other day, and it was called CeeLo, right? And they said something about how they're creating something called the donut hard fork,
mm.
and I have no idea what that is.
So are you familiar in like do you do any development, or have you ever worked in development or any of those kinds of some natures?
No, all I know is that CeeLo is a blockchain. It's a specific blockchain. That's all I know about it.
Yep. So there's a term in like development and whatnot, which is like you can fork something, and you may have even seen it if in like I think there's some like music applications that allow you to fork stuff.
Okay.
And so essentially, it's if you think about like a fork in a road, right? Like you're going down a single pathway, and then it breaks and it goes into multiple different pathways.
Yeah.
And like with music, you like splice stuff, and you can split it into two or three different. You can edit the original, right? So typically in development, you fork a line of code or a particular build, and then the new developer can work on it, make changes to it, try to make improvements, and then merge it back into the main pathway. And so the same concept is happening here. And so with a cryptocurrency, you are forking it, right? So you're taking a cryptocurrency, you're breaking it into two separate currencies, and then you can update and change the code from the original. So it's almost giving you like a basis point to start. You split off, and then you can create your own based on the original.
That's so interesting. So is that basically what you do with Ethereum whenever you create a new cryptocurrency?
Kinda,
Is it forking it?
essentially.
That's so interesting. Yeah, because so I follow CeeLo on Twitter, and just because I was just so interested in this. And they tout that they're creating a carbon negative blockchain.
Interesting, because I know that's been a big thing recently.
Yeah. And so here are the platform stats for anybody interested. You go to celo.org, CELO.org. And they're not sponsored, but if you want to, that'd be totally cool. So the platform stats of CeeLo is they have over 7 million blocks, over 750,000 total addresses, over 8 million total transactions, an average block time of 5 seconds, and 2,350.9 carbon tons offset. Does that mean anything to you?
It's pretty crazy.
Is that good?
Yeah.
Why? And this will probably be the last thing, but just like why? What about these numbers? Does it just mean that it's being used and that it's has a lot of usage? Is that all it means?
Yeah. I mean, so it is saying, so, first off, you start with total blocks, right? I mean, that's saying that there is a ton of interactions happening on this chain, right? Addresses mean it's protected across a lot of different pathways. Transactions means that there are things that are happening regularly. It's not just like sitting stable. It means people are regularly transforming it. It's quick. So they're nice and speedy. Things are getting done with their block time. And then there's all sorts of problems with energy consumption right now, and so where they're looking at ways to reduce energy usage on these various blockchains and whatnot.
Right.
And so CeeLo, I believe, is one of the ones that's working real hard. And I think you just said something about carbon being offset, which is a big deal, because it's saying they've found ways to hurt the environment less than another typical blockchain.
Right. See, and that's all I want to know is because this is something that generally looks so interesting, because they tout so much about like you can start building your own. It says right here on the front page, global payment infrastructure built for mobile, and it says start building with CeeLo.
Yeah, and see, I don't want to give anybody any incorrect information. I'm not super familiar with CeeLo. I mean, I can give you
Neither
some
am
of
I.
it. the main piece is now I just went to their website and I do see something. It's actually stablecoin that we're talking about here. CUSD and CUR, name for currencies they follow. C dollars and CELO dollars and CELO euro are stablecoins that allow you to share value faster, cheaper, and more easily on your mobile phone.
Oh yeah, right here. Yep, I see that too. Digital. Yep.
That's a fixed supply and variable rate. So it's interesting that it's saying, essentially they're giving you the ability to have this currency on your phone that's backed by US dollars. So again, it's creating this very secure, almost bank-worthy space for you to store your cryptocurrency. And they're doing it all energy efficiently, which makes everybody warm and fuzzy on the inside.
That's so crazy. I think I misspoke, but I'm actually going to start coining this term: gligital, global digital assets, gligital assets.
Lots of terms, and you're coining them, which is very fitting at this current second.
Yeah, exactly. Because this is the first indication. What is the time? It is May 15th, June 15th, 2:58 p.m. Pacific Daylight Time, and I have coined all of these terms. They are now mine, and you cannot have them
unless you'd like to pay standard.
Unless you want to pay, unless you want to pay a standard fee and pay me 10% commission on that all the time.
I encourage you to have them.
Yeah, I encourage you to pay me that. Oh, this is super interesting because this shows you at least in my opinion, this shows you the climate that people are viewing digital assets.
Mm-hmm.
And it shows that it's a positive climate and that it's growing exponentially, it looks like.
Yeah, and interesting. If I'm continuing to scroll down CELO, this is pretty smart. I mean, I see the A16Z logo on there as a backer, which is Andreessen Horowitz, which is a very quite strong investment firm. And
really?
they're actually the investment firm that's behind Clubhouse.
I actually just got my invite to Clubhouse the other day, which, spoilers, we might be coming up with stuff later with Clubhouse, so stay tuned for that.
Yes, Clubhouse is pretty darn awesome. And so Andreessen Horowitz is the group behind them as well. So seeing their name here, makes me feel pretty good. I see Coinbase on here as well, Polychain Capital. Means there's a good chance that there's, this will do fairly well. And their app is beautiful. And I do like this. This is nice for me. I mean, I'll have to do some more research into CELOs, one I was not familiar with, but does look pretty cool. And, I say that it's one I'm not familiar with. That is the joys of cryptocurrencies. It's very easy to be not familiar because there's a billion.
Yeah. And oh my gosh, this is so interesting. This is the coolest conversation I think I've had to date. Or at least one that I'm just like, I know literally nothing about this. Because with most subjects that I talk about, I usually, hi, that's my dog. I have to go walk my dog soon. So also that counts as an interruption. Everybody take a drink. Because I don't know if you know this, there's an ongoing joke that every time the fire station goes off across the street, everybody has to take a drink of whatever they have in front of them.
Fresca is my drink of choice right now.
Hey man, to each his own. Not gonna judge. I think it tastes like weird water, but that's just me.
Fair.
So here's the last, I guess, bit of conversation that I want to have around this subject. I guess just to tie it into the organization, do you think that it is in the best interest of, I guess, esports as a whole? Do you think that it would be a good idea for esports to start investing in digital assets like this, like either creating their own coins that are backed by either real world assets or whatever have you, and creating their own NFTs?
Yes.
Why?
It's a way. So look, the esports space is very tricky to monetize. No one really knows how to do it. There's a lot of businesses struggling to monetize the space. And because of that, it means these teams are also struggling to be successful, and players and creators. And I mean, people say like, oh no, but these guys are millionaires and all this kind of stuff. Well, I mean, yes and no. Some of them are, right? But that's any industry. But there's a lot of up and coming esports players, a lot of up and coming creators that don't know how to make money in this space. And this again is create your own value, right? They can create coins, they can create NFTs. And if they have the following, if they have the people, they'll sell them and they'll trade them and they'll continuously make revenue streams. And they're not having to create physical product, but they're not having to go out of their way to say, how do we monetize ourselves? They can do it and allow their people, if they've built an audience, they've now built a value, and they're giving something to their audience because they're holding a piece of history, right? You think about, like, you familiar with I think it's Top Shot, NBA Top Shots. Is that Hot Shots, Top Shots? I always mess this one up.
Not particularly. Basketball was never my thing, really.
Yeah, so it's Top Shot, I think, is the one I was throwing out there. I encourage you to look it up. NBA Top Shot. It is. Are you familiar with like trading cards, like Pokemon or something?
Yeah, absolutely.
So Top Shot is that. It's trading cards for basketball, and except it's all digital.
Yeah.
And so you can open a pack of Top Shots, and you'll get famous moments from baseball that are NFTs.
Dude, Magic the Gathering, I'm going to market this to Magic.
They've already announced they are stepping into the NFT.
Dang it. Oh, I thought I was going to have a good idea. Dang.
They're beautiful. And so you can buy these packs not knowing what's inside of them. You break it open and there's little videos of players. There's pictures of them. There's custom art that the players have liked or something like that go alongside of it. And dude, you can buy like one NBA Top Shot thing for multi-million dollars, right? Like they're expensive.
That's so crazy.
And so I would not be surprised if the world of esports did not soon have essentially esport packs that you can pop open and collect valuable moments from.
So cool. No, and that makes sense because, think of it this way. Say, for a random example, say Twitch starts getting in on NFTs, right? Mm-hmm. They go to each content creator, all their top content creators, right? And they basically say, hey, we want to start selling NFTs, right? These are going to be Twitch sponsored NFTs that you go through the platform, but they're going to be of our streamers, right? Mm-hmm. And whether you like it or not, it's still going to be there. Even if you quit using the platform, it's still going to be there because it's basically art or Correct. A collectible, right? So then they go up, they create a value, they set the value, and then now, even after whoever the person is stops streaming, they're still making money off of an NFT.
Yes, and when Twitch creates that NFT, one of the perks they can give to the creator is they can both assign them and the creator as royalty receivers. So Twitch gets 1% and the creator gets 1% every time that continues to exchange hands. Or Twitch gets 3 and the creator gets 1, and the creator gets 2 and the creator gets 4. You can create dual royalties off of every one time it gets sold.
And it's all secured by blockchain.
Correct. Yep. So super secure.
That's ridiculous. Because even if we talk about, going back to CeeLo, right? Mm-hmm. You're not just hacking through one block of CeeLo in order to access something. You have to hack through all 7,243,608 total blocks,
which is going to be a disaster area.
No.
Considering that hashes are changing all the time, and so you'd have to be doing it faster than they're updating codes and hashes, which also is not happening.
It just went up to 610, 611,
and there we are.
There we go.
And it's just neat because it's and people want those moments, right? Because it's not cryptocurrent that they want to own. It's the moment that you coined cryptocurrent.
Yeah.
And it's the excitement on your face. It's the conversation that was just happening. They want all of that. Aside from just having the word cryptocurrent. And that's where the value gets derived.
That's so cool. Also, fun little fact before we throw everything off here. So fungible is technically a noun that is derived from the Latin verb fungi. I don't speak Latin, but it is not in a relationship to the word fungus. It is in relation, and it is a verb meaning to perform. So if you have a fungible asset, it's a performing asset, right? It is constantly moving. If it is non-fungible, it is a non-performing asset. That's a really interesting way of thinking about it. Every time you look at root words, you can look at something differently, which is super interesting to me. That's why I love linguistics so much. But honestly, I guess we're going to stop it there. This was absolutely the coolest episode I think I've done so far because I genuinely learned so much about this.
And this is not even the tip of the iceberg.
Yeah, no, I fully understand that now. And that terrifies me. Because this reminds me, the world of cryptocurrency and digital assets literally reminds me of the ocean. There's so much of it and we know so little about it.
that's good to say. I like that. And I think I always just say to people, I'm like, before you do something, just give a little investigation into it, right? Like there's a
About
lot.
anything. You should do that with anything.
Just learn.
Don't be those Facebook scrollers.
Yes.
Oh, no, Andrew, Neptune, thank you genuinely so much. This is mind-boggling. I just promo yourself because I just need to sit and mull for a minute. This is
Yeah.
wild.
Yeah, so y'all, I'm all over the internet, typically as Neptune or Neptune Gaming, and I spell that a little funky. It's Neptjun. I head up an organization called Aquatik Esports, where we work with creators and gamers and streamers and all sorts of people to help them try to grow their audience and also to empower them. We're always giving away Alienware computers, and I think we're actually giving away an Xbox Series X and a 70-inch flat screen right now.
I did see that one. That one's pretty cool.
It's a pretty good one. I like that one. So yeah, feel free to check us out at either Aquatik Esports, or you can find me on Instagram at Neptune Gaming. I'm always talking about cool stuff like this. And what we can do in the world.
And also because this is part of the Aquatik branch of the Common Tongue podcasts, we have to say this is proprietary. Twitch.tv/Elvie. Best Twitch chat ever.
That's fair.
We have to do it. It's, Kami started it and we've been rolling with it ever since. So twitch.tv/Elvie. Go check her out.
If you don't know who she is, she's our community manager over at Aquatik, and she makes everybody smile.
She is one of the loveliest people in this world. But yeah, so thank you guys for joining us on this wild digital asset ride. And I guess we'll see you on the next one. So, oh, no. And remember, everybody, that you need to get sunlight and you need to get water because you're basically a houseplant with complicated human emotions. And that's where I'm going to leave it. So, bye.